morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're all doing well this fine Saturday. Happy weekend to you all. I was going to do a recorded video on these three missing persons from East Tennessee. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a live because I've not been live for a little while on this channel. If you've been following the Karen Reid case, I've been live almost every day over on Michelle Walks, but I'm having an entire weekend of Karen Reid. I've promised myself I'm not going to watch any content whatsoever pertaining to Karen Reid for the entire weekend because I am nervous. I am nervous about the verdict. We're in verdict watch and I am very nervous. So we're going to talk about Summer, Layla and Hollynn today. And thank you so much, Krista, for hopping in before the streams even started with a cool $49.99. That's incredibly generous. Thank you so much. You're a superstar. And we've also got Kimberly, who's just hopped in with 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Kimberly. We've got Leah. Thank you, no. Space Cat, Mason, and One Red Rose. If you've never been a member before, go and check out the members area. We've got all sorts of stuff. I posted a short video just a couple of days ago in the members area. We've got videos, we've got bloopers, we've got lives, status updates, usually dogs. But go and check it out. If you have been a member before, go and check it out again. And thank you so much, Kimberly. All right, let's say a couple of hellos. And I'm going to get straight into it in a second. Summer, of course, it's the 4-year mark tomorrow. So I've done quite a bit of content, actually, about Summer this week because there's been all the local news around there has done stuff on Summer, which is great. Don Wells has been out speaking. So, yeah, it's always worth covering whatever Don has to say. But then we've got Layla and Hollynn, both adults, but only just, and almost childlike because they're very short in stature, very tiny, and it's nearly 2 years for Layla. It'll be June 26th that it's the 2-year mark for Layla, and then Hollynn is October, so it'll be a year and a half or so for Hollynn. And the Times News Online, which is a local paper around East Tennessee, I think they're based in Kingsport. Anybody who's local can tell me different if you want. They've done a piece on all 3 of these missing persons. So I'm going to share that with you. So it got posted on the Find Summer Wells Facebook group. And the Times News Online, some of the articles you can get free, some of them you need a subscription. So you may not have seen it, but I'm going to read it all to you. And it's quite interesting that they've done all 3 from only a few miles away from each other. All unconnected, but just a few miles away from each other. Hello, Angie, baby. We got Mike. We got Mandy. Only Grands. We got Julie. Journey takes a trip. Oh, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you're pleased it was live rather than a recorded video. It very nearly was a recorded video. Yeah, I know. Amazing that the TVI can't or won't find people. Look, I don't think Tennessee has got any more missing persons than anywhere else. I mean, there's missing persons everywhere. I think certainly on this channel, there's a heavy focus on Tennessee cases because due to Summer and how popular Summer's case was in the first year or two, a lot of my audience are from Tennessee. So I always cover the Tennessee cases. But it's just really odd that when we get a Tennessee case, it tends to be controversial. You know, Summer, we've got Sebastian Rogers, of which there is absolutely nothing new on Sebastian. I've been looking for new updates on Sebastian because I want to cover Sebastian again. And there's just nothing apart from drama. So, yeah, I'm going to hold off until there's actually something to cover on Sebastian that isn't to do with drama. But then Layla's case has also had its fair share of drama. Not so much on YouTube, but I think it's quite big on TikTok. I think it's bigger on TikTok than it ever has been on YouTube. So that's had its fair share of drama. So it's just weird that Tennessee cases do tend to attract that kind of notoriety. Anyhow, hello again, Krista, and thank you so much once again. Two Arctic Wolves, hello. Rescue Randy's Road Rash. If anybody wants to know why CW has called herself Rescue Randy's Road Rash, it's pertaining to Karen Reid. So there's a few very interesting names. I still haven't seen Crash Test Dummy. No one's called themselves Crash Test Dummy that I've seen anyway. Hello, Carrie B. Down Under with Love, Shazza. We got Linda, we got Elle, we got TN Cat Lover, Quiet Observer, Kimberly once again. We've got Snaggle Mama, Tweety Lynn. All right, I'm going to stop. Okay, so I'm going to share my whole screen for this. Then I can zoom this right in because it's very short, small text. So this is on the Times News Weekender. And we've got on the front page, so all on the front page, we've got Summer, Layla, and Hollynn. So we'll do Summer first, then Layla, then Hollynn. And Don Wells. What can you do about Don Wells? Don and Candice want the boys back. So if you've been watching things develop over the last few days pertaining to Don Wells, you will know that they want the boys back. They've had the all clear from DCS. Is it DCS in Tennessee? Like the equivalent of CPS. They've had the all clear, so they've been cleared of any allegations of child abuse and neglect. So the ongoing case that DCS had against Don and Candice has now been dismissed, and they are allowed to be around children again. Therefore, they believe that they should get the boys back. Now, it turns out that the two younger boys, I think they've already been adopted. So I think it would be incredibly difficult to get those two young men back. But the eldest boy is actually up for adoption. He's advertised on the website TN Kids as somebody looking for his forever home. Sounds like a flaming puppy, honestly. He's looking for his forever home. So if he's up for adoption, even though Don and Candice gave up their rights to the boys, do they now have a claim? You know, could they, I guess, re-adopt him? Like, I don't know. I don't know legally how that works. But that's what they want. So the separate stories for Summer and then DCS. So we'll do Summer, then DCS, and then Layla, then Hollynn. All right, June 15th marks 4th year since Summer Wells' disappearance. As Sunday, June 15th marks the 4-year anniversary of the disappearance of Summer Wells, law enforcement confirms the case is still open. And there has been comment by Sheriff Ronnie Lawson. Sheriff Ronnie Lawson has stuck his head over the parapet and given a comment. You will know, if you've been following this case closely, that last year there was no comment whatsoever from Hawkins County Sheriff's Office. Not one word came out last year. The year before, Sheriff Ronnie Lawson gave a comment and said that they were hoping to have an update in the near future. So everybody got excited, thinking the case is moving. Maybe they've just got one more puzzle piece to put into place, and then they're going to be able to solve the case or make an arrest or something. But no, nothing came. So as far as I'm aware, this is the first time in 2 years since the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office have made a comment. Right. 5-year-old Summer Wells went missing from a Beach Creek home June 15th, 2021. Summer will be 9 today. Isn't it crazy that Summer has been missing for almost half of her life? Let that sink in. If she's still missing next year when she's 10, she will literally have been missing for half of her lifetime. An Amber Alert was issued for the missing girl and remains active. In the days following her disappearance, the search covered 1,000 acres and involved 41 agencies and over 100 people. In the following year, both Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office conducted routine searches for Summer, but to no avail. Next page. Okay. All right. Leslie Earhart from the TBI has also given a comment. Our investigation remains active and ongoing. TBI spokesperson Leslie Earhart stated in a recent email. Last year, TBI released a video. They did. They actually did. No comment from Hawkins County, but the TBI did release a video stating that they do not have evidence to confirm whether she was abducted or lost. So those seem to be the two options that the TBI are going with. They don't know whether she was abducted. They don't know whether she just wandered off and got lost. But what they don't seem to have in their sights is foul play from family members or, people close to Summer. I mean, yeah, of course, abduction is foul play. But, to make that distinction between foul play committed by a family member or someone very close compared to an abduction where somebody actually takes her. So abduction or wandering off and getting lost seem to be the two that the TBI are going with. Only Grands, member for 40 months. Thank you so much. Don and Candice are unfit to be parents. Well, I know, but according to the DCS, the case for child abuse and neglect against the boys has been dismissed. Okay, the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office also continues working on the case each day. Oh, I bet they're not. As we approach the 4-year mark, this is from Ronnie, we want to reassure the public that this case has not been forgotten. And it will never be until some form of closure is found, Sheriff Ronnie Lawson stated in a June 13th release. This was just yesterday. Tips continue coming in to them as well. We are still receiving tips that must be thoroughly vetted and validated, Lawson stated. Additionally, we continue to monitor. Get this. This is what they're doing each day. This is what they're doing each day. Additionally, we continue to monitor and address the spread of misinformation on social media platforms, including content shared by YouTubers and other sources. So that's actually what the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office are spending their time doing, sitting there watching videos. Listen. Instead of spending your time watching videos, why don't you go out and do some searches? Because honestly, all right, there is still content on Summer Wells. There is. I mean, I've made some content about Summer Wells this week, but it's nothing like the drama and the borderline criminal stuff that was going on in the first year. So why are the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office spending their time sitting watching videos when they could be using their time more wisely? They're all sitting there around watching videos on their phones. I bet you any money. Ronnie, if you enjoy my videos, or even if you don't, please like them. It just helps with the algorithm. And as I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year, if you guys from Hawkins County Sheriff's Office wouldn't mind subscribing to my channel and help me get there. Thank you. All right. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Insane. Spending time doing that. All right. If there's, harassment going on, if there's borderline criminal stuff going on, all right, of course, they want to monitor it. But don't those things get reported? Maybe if you get a report from somebody who claims to be being harassed, then follow up. But routinely watching and monitoring social media is not the best use of your time. Dear God. All right. The Wells family. It's been a really bad 4 years. Has it? It's been worse for Summer. But this is Don Wells because everything is about Don. God, it makes me mad. Between their daughter going missing and DCS removing their 3 sons about a month later, Don and Candice Bly, their mother, have not seen any of their children in about 4 years. So the boys got removed. Now, there's a couple of different stories about why the boys got removed. Don Wells wants you to believe that it's because of YouTubers and because of drama and because people were coming to their property and making it all unsafe. However, a story has come out that it was actually Candice that rang DCS. Now, I don't know whether this is true, so take it with a grain of salt, but apparently it was Candice that rang DCS because Don had gone off on some kind of bender and she was kicking off and she called DCS. And then they came, they did drug tests and, oh, hey presto, Don and Candice are under the influence of drugs and the boys, therefore, were then removed. And Don and Candice then were facing allegations by DCS of abuse and neglect. That's how it all happened. And if it was literally, as Don said, to do with keeping the boys safe, well, there's other ways to do that. So DCS clearly felt that there was issues in that family and the boys weren't safe there. Not because YouTubers were making videos, but because of Don and Candice. The fact that they issued, claims of abuse and neglect shows that the problems DCS had and why they took the boys was because of allegations of abuse and neglect. And they had to sort their house out. They had to do parenting classes, which they didn't do. They didn't do. And eventually, they lost custody completely. They lost all rights. They lost all rights to getting the boys back. But now, everything's apparently different. Okay. Despite hope to potentially see their sons, Don said it's hard to think positively. I mean, when your daughter's kidnapped and then they come in and take your children away, the rest of your children, and you've been dogged on day after day for 4 years by various groups. Although the family has received much support, there are many who accuse them of being responsible for Summer's disappearance. There are a lot of people out there who support us, Do you know what? All the people who support them, there are people who supported them over the last almost 4 years. But the majority of those people actually see the light and stop supporting them. Have they ever wondered why? People have helped them. There's been groups of people going, trying to help them with their house. And practically everybody ends up saying, I can't do this anymore. Now, most of that is in private. We don't know really what what goes on. But the people who support them tend to get to the end of their tether and leave. So, I don't know. I just don't know. There's also a lot of hate out there in the world too. Throughout the years, people and churches have held gatherings to honour Summer's birthday and the day of her disappearance. There are some good people that's doing stuff like that and everything, Don said. But I don't think we'll attend anymore. There's too many unprofessional at those kind of events. Have they ever attended? I don't think we'll attend anymore. Have they ever attended? They attended some vigils in the early days, very, very early days. They attended some vigils. But I don't know that Don and Candice have ever attended anything like, you know, the Summer's Day events that get put on every year. Did Don and Candice attend those? Because I've never seen any information that they have. They might have their own private gatherings. But no, big statement from Don there, from Big Don. Not going to attend anymore. It's too unprofessional. I know what, Don. Why don't you create your own event? If you think that the events that are put on in Summer's name are unprofessional, then why don't you do your own event? Organise it yourself. How about that? You know, as Summer's dad. Why don't you do that? Just a thought. All right, let's switch back to page 1 and start the DCS story here. All right. Summer Wells' father comments on DCS case. As the 4th year of Summer Wells' disappearance approaches, her parents, Don Wells and Candice Bly, look for the possibility of getting their other 3 children returned home. 5-year-old Summer went missing from a Beach Creek home June 15th, 2021. Despite more than 100 people helping search for her, no trace of Summer has been found. Okay. All right. Go back to the DCS story over here. Okay. All right. This is the story from DCS, from the boys. July 26, 2021, the Department of Children's Services removed Summer's 3 brothers from their home. Last year, Don and Candice signed over their rights to their 3 boys. We didn't have a choice, Don told the Times News last year. They were going to bury us if we didn't sign them over. They were going to bury them. They were going to bury them. What does that mean? They were going to bury us. They were going to bury us. No, Don said the substantiations for child abuse and or child neglect against him and Candice have been dropped. DCS has not confirmed the dismissal or provided the Times News with documentation on the case. Okay, well, they won't because they won't comment on cases. However, the letters from DCS have been put on Summer's group. I read them on a video the other day. I can read them again if you want. But DCS won't comment to the media because they don't comment on cases. All right. So a DCS spokesperson said DCS investigations are confidential and not subject to public inspection. Despite saying the accusations are dismissed, Don finds it hard to be hopeful. I mean, we're certainly happy about that, but our lives are still extremely affected by all of it because it's all about Don. Throughout the last 4 years, Don said he and Candice have been the target of hate and accusations. Hopefully, things are changing. Hopefully, they'll try to make some things right. I mean, we'd love to have our kids back, Don said. We love them. We never stop loving them. A spokesperson for the Wells family, I assume that will be Tim Mullen, I'm guessing, added that they have requested to bring their eldest son home. I'm not going to say his name. I don't know why his name's. I don't know why. I decided long ago I wasn't going to say the boys' names, but like the family used their names. I don't know why I'm still not using their names. Okay. We didn't ask. We simply said we're clear. We didn't ask. Simply said we're clear. We're in expectation of him coming home. We prefer the beginning of June, but definitely want him here for the 4th anniversary, the spokesperson said. So bring him here. We expect him here. What if he doesn't want to go? Have they actually asked whether the boys want to go back to 110? You know, they're teenagers. They were 12, 11 and 9 when Summer disappeared. So they're all now teenagers. The eldest boy is 16. He'll be almost 17. So he's nearly a grown man. He's nearly an adult. Have they asked whether they want to go home? Now, the two that are already, I assume they're already adopted. They're not up for adoption anyway. So I assume that they've already been adopted and probably very settled in their new life, which I would have to guess is better than the life that they previously had. Would they want to be wrenched from the family that has taken them in and adopted them to go back to 110 Ben Hill Road, to that hill, with two drunken parents shouting and bawling at each other? Would the eldest boy want to go back on his own? Anybody asked him? Listen, if he wants to go back, he's nearly 17. If he wants to go back, let him go back, right? It's up to him. I would say make it up to him. Not guilt-tripping him to go back. Not putting stupid stuff on Facebook to guilt him to go back. But genuinely ask the question, does he want to come back? Or does he want to stay in foster care? It is a shame that they've been split up, yeah. It is a shame. Didn't know they didn't get them back. No, I didn't get them back. There was a bunch of allegations, and they had to be on parenting plans, and they didn't do them. They didn't do what was required of them. So they ran out of time. They didn't get them back. They didn't get them back. It's unclear what the next steps are, but Don said being cleared of the accusations helps them focus on Summer and getting their other children home. Being cleared of these horrific accusations, now we can focus on what's the next step. So your mind automatically goes to, the next step is, can we get our kids back? What can we do to be there for them? And everywhere we turn, it's just so difficult. There you go. Now, there's a lot more on Facebook. Just a second. Just let me stop the share for a second. And okay. Okay, so this is the Find Summer Wells Facebook group. So that's what we've just been reading. I assume that's what we've just been reading. Oh no, maybe this is different. Nothing there. Okay. So that's what we've just been reading. Stay strong, love God, we love you, and God loves you always. God, oh God. Okay, so that's what we've just been reading. Message from Hawkins County Sheriff, which is what we've just read. Dear God. The Hawkins County Sheriff's Office continues to actively work on this case each day. We are still receiving tips that must be thoroughly vetted and validated. Additionally, we continue to monitor and address the spread of misinformation on social media platforms, including content shared by YouTube and other sources. Okay. At this time, we are not providing any on-camera interviews. Thanks again for your interest and support. Sincerely, Ronnie Lawson. All right, this is a Tim Mullen special. I think this is red. I think this has got to be Tim Mullen. The boys are the Summer Wells case. Fact check for social media fake news. June 14th, 2021, DCS comes to Wells property and closes a case started by an unknown accusation. June 15th, 2021, Summer Wells disappearance. June 14th, with 4 children, a yard, a house, upstairs or downstairs, toys, and after investigating, DCS closed the case, period. Obviously, there was no proof of an abusive or neglectful family. June 15th was the same house, the same yard, the same toys, the same 3 children, the same house, the same upstairs, the same downstairs. What changed? One thing. Summer Wells had disappeared. Chaos, panic, fear broke loose. The house was searched a total of 11 times. Same house as June 14th, except now ransacked and was a house of tense grief and panic day and night. Most people don't have house cleaning as a priority when your child has disappeared. That's fair enough. It's fair enough. July 2021, DCS takes the boys with parental permission to protect them from the chaos. The boys lose everything that day. The boys are never returned. DCS training manual has nothing about Amber Alert families. No, because there's no such thing as Amber Alert families. This is a Tim Mullin creation. The term Amber Alert family is a Tim Mullin creation. They are children first, not family first. There's a huge difference. From the moment Summer Wells disappeared, all things that happened were the effects of Summer's disappearance. Judgments against the Wells are folly. The stack of fears is too much for most people to hear about. Vital. Remember, DCS had already cleared the Wells family June 14th as non-abusers and non-neglectors of their children the day before Summer disappeared. Yes, the boys' case after Summer's disappearance has everything to do with Summer's disappearance and the Summer Wells case. The family cannot be judged for those days of panic after her disappearance. The thing is, though, the majority of people who have a missing child don't get their other children taken away. If you think about it, it's only if there's concerns for the safety of the other children that they take the children, that they take the other children. You know, if there's strong belief that one or both of the parents is involved in that child's disappearance, or there's something else going on, then they take the children. But the majority of people who have a missing child in their family don't automatically take children away. They don't. Mike, this is Tim Mullin. I can tell it's Tim Mullin, you know, the media manager. Okay. June 14th, DCS said not guilty. June 15th, Summer disappears. July 2021, the boys are taken hundreds of miles away, essentially ending the Wells family. 60% of the witnesses who were at the house the day of Summer's disappearance are taken away. 3 of the 5. Yeah, but they're still witnesses. It doesn't matter where they are. They're still witnesses. So the fact that the 3 boys were taken away from the environment they were living in actually would make them more likely to be able to tell truthfully what they saw and what they witnessed on the day that Summer disappeared. So that's actually a good thing for Summer's case, that the boys were taken away. Because let's just assume that Don and Candice were telling the boys what to say. Well, the cops who want to get to the bottom of Summer's disappearance don't want the boys to just be parroting what the parents are saying. They want to know from the boys exactly what they saw and heard. So it's not true. It's ridiculous to say that 60% of the witnesses were taken away. 60% of the witnesses are just living in a different geographic location, and they have been interviewed multiple times, many times, by forensic specialists, you know, the forensic psychologists who specialize in child interviews. They've been interviewed numerous times. And they wouldn't have got that. If they'd stayed with the Wells, they wouldn't have got that. Because they'd have had Don and Candice in their ear the whole time. So it was good for the case that they were taken away. 3 that together with their parents could have focused on what might have happened. Well, the boys were able to focus on what they saw and what they heard and were forensically interviewed. So it's not taken anything away from the case. It's actually assisted the case. Summer lost that important potential. No, she didn't. Now it's 4 years later. The boys were taken, the case staggered. I don't know what that means. The parents could not focus on Summer by themselves. Oh, so they're blaming the boys disappearing for not being active participants in the search for their daughter. Okay, I get it. How can the parents focus on Summer's disappearance at all when 3 of the 5 witnesses were taken away? And they happen to be their last 3 children. Jump to spring 2025, nearly 4 years later, DCS once again clears the Wells of any wrongdoing of abuse and neglect. That is twice cleared. The difference between June 14th, 2021 and spring of 2025, the state of Tennessee has the 3 boys. Both cases closed, both cases not guilty. The precedent, if an American family's child disappears as an Amber Alert and you're proven to be legal, safe, functioning family the day before the disappearance, then all your children can be taken away from you because your behaviour gets you judged. Well, if your behaviour becomes dangerous, if your living conditions are unsafe, then of course they are going to take your children, whether you've got a disappeared child in your family or not. Rightly. The fact that the boys weren't returned is 100% totally the fault of Don and Candice, because they did not clear their act up. They did not refrain from their addictions. They did not clean up. I mean, they did some stuff to the house, fair dues to them, in time for Dr. Phil and all of that. Do you remember that? Yeah. And they didn't do the classes that were required. And they were given chance after chance after chance after chance. Don spent how many months in prison, in jail, in the Hawkins County Jail for a probation violation. Remember that? And then Candice was living it up all over YouTube. Remember that? So, no, the reason why the boys have been gone for 4 years is solely and totally the responsibility of Don and Candice, who did not do what was required of them to get them back. Dear God. Dear God. Point. If a family is clean according to DCS rules on June 14th, and the family is vindicated as clean again in 2025, keyword again, then yes, the whole folly is based on one thing: the disappearance of Summer Wells and a system that was not made to handle an Amber Alert family. Bullshit. Absolute, total, and utter bullshit. Honestly, Tim Mullen is the master of getting stuff wrong. If people believe this, I'm sorry, you've got a big problem in your head somewhere. Because the problem is not the disappearance of Summer Wells. It's not the problem that there is an Amber Alert on a child belonging to that family. If that was the case, every family that had a disappeared child would have all of their children automatically taken away. And that is not the case. Absolutely not the case. So, yeah, their cases was found not guilty, so you can't say that. I don't know what you're referring to, words written in red. Yeah, the case was found not guilty after 4 years. But the reason why the boys weren't returned is because the parents did not clean up their act. And it is absolutely not true what is being said here, that the problem is all based on the disappearance of Summer Wells. It is not. Do not put that on Summer. It is not Summer's responsibility to say, oh, well, she disappeared, therefore our family got broken up. Well, yeah, it's bad enough that a child goes missing. It's bad enough that a child remains missing after 4 years. But the parents could have cleaned up their act, done the relevant things that the DCS wanted them to do, and got their family back. They could have got their boys back. They could have got them back before they were adopted or spent 4 years in foster care. They could have got them back. If they truly wanted them back, they could have got them back. I'm sorry, it's their fault that the children were adopted. It's their fault. And it's not Summer's fault. Do not put this on Summer Wells. Don't say this is all based on the disappearance of Summer Wells and a system that was not made to handle an Amber Alert family. That's absolute nonsense. The problem, the responsibility is of Don and Candice Wells to clean up their act, to make their behaviour appropriate, to look after children, and the living conditions appropriate for children to live there. There's no one else to blame. Dear God. Dear God. Since the case was faulty. What do you mean, case was faulty? We're going to criticise DCS now for having concerns that the boys weren't being looked after properly. Okay, all right. The pressured signatures to sign the children over to the state are null and void. I don't know about the legal implications of it. I don't know. I'd be interested to know how this develops, though. If DNA later proves a jail citizen with a life sentence didn't do it, he walks free because the sentence was based on faulty evidence. Okay. All right. But it's a bit of a different situation. If a child's already adopted, do you wrench that child away from the home that they've now got to go and live in a home that they were taken from? That's the question. The question is not, it's not the same as someone is sitting in prison wrongly accused, and then, they find evidence to vindicate that person and their conviction is quashed. That person surely wants to leave prison, surely. Whereas the boys being in new families, do they want to go back to 110? You've got to ask them. Surely it's them, not we expect him back. We expect this boy back here. We expect him to be back. You can't say that. The eldest boy who's currently up for adoption is nearly 17. He's 16 years old. He'll be 17 soon. You've got to ask him. He knows his own mind. He's nearly a man. He knows his own mind. Let him decide. Let him decide. And legally, if they can make those adoptions of the other two boys null and void, well, they're going to be, the middle boy is going to be 15. He was 11 when Summer went missing, and the younger boy was 9, so he's going to be 13. They're all old enough to know their own minds. They're all old enough to make a decision. They are all old enough to make a decision. Do they want to go back? And if they don't, then let it drop. Don't put them on social media. Don't keep putting their photos on social media, guilt-tripping him, saying you'll be the patriarch of the family one day and all that nonsense. We want them to go to our church. We want them to know God and all of that stuff. They can know God wherever they are. You don't have to go to that one church. You don't have to do God the way you want to do God. They can do God in their own ways if they choose to. They may not choose to. Let them make their own decisions. That's what being a good parent's about, is putting yourself last. Put your children first and yourself last. So however much it might hurt, if the boys do not want to go back, do not make them go back. I don't care about the legals. If they don't want to go back, they shouldn't be made to go back. That's just my opinion. DCS said we weren't bad then, we aren't bad now. A equals A. To start, eldest boy comes home. He should not have to suffer anymore. Do we know he's suffering? I mean, the fact that he's on an adoption site and it sounds like a puppy being rehomed is one thing. I find it horrible. But does he want to go back? Is he happy where he is for the time being? And does he want to go back? Is the question. That's the question. That's the question. Oh, I haven't seen this one, I don't think. Let's listen to this. Well, I don't think you'll be able to hear that, actually, the way I've got this shared. Hold on. I'll have to do this. And then do this so that you can hear it, I think. Right.
Would be allowed to return home. Summer Wells said the Department of Children's Services has dropped a case against them.
There's a thing to get it back to the beginning. What's going on here?
Summer Wells said the Department of Children's Services has dropped a case against them. Summer, you might remember, went missing in East Tennessee 4 years ago. She would have turned 9 in February. Well, her parents posted on social media saying the state has cleared them of accusations that they either abused or neglected their sons. And so if Summer is found, she would be allowed to return home. The TBI has been looking for Summer since June of 2021. She disappeared from her Rogersville home. The family says they believe she was kidnapped, but investigators say there isn't any evidence of that. Summer Wells said the Department of Children's Services has dropped a case against.
All right.
Home. The TBI has been looking for Summer since.
This is the letter. This is a letter, order of dismissal. So there's one for Dom, one for Candice. They're both the same. I read this on a video the other day, but I'll just quickly skim through it again, and then we'll go on to Layla. An appeal was filed on February 13th, 2025 with the Administrative Procedures Division of the Department of Children's Services, in which appellant, so Dom and then Candice, requested an administrative hearing concerning his substantiation for child abuse, child neglect regarding investigation numbers. An acknowledgement letter was issued on February 25th, 2025. The hearing was scheduled to begin May 13th, 2025. On April 21st, 2025, the department filed a notice of withdrawal and a notice to dismiss. As the substantiation appealed by the appellant has been withdrawn, the appeal of the substantiation is moot. Therefore, the appeal of the substantiation against the appellant is dismissed. So this is obviously from the judge. Based on the above findings and the applicable state statutes and Department of Children's Service policies, the classification established by the Child Protective Services Division of the Department of Children's Services that appellant is the substantiated perpetrator in a validated case of child abuse or child neglect is withdrawn. The department is directed to change the classification of this referral to not substantiated. Further, the department is directed to take immediate and appropriate action to notify all parties previously notified of this investigation that they are no longer required to assure non-access to children by Don Wells, and then the same by Candice Blythe. So they weren't meant to be having any access to children. Well, they have been in the company of children over the last 4 years. There was that woman taking her granddaughter there to play on summer swing. Don has seen his grandchildren when they went to Arkansas, when they went to live in a motel in Arkansas. Don and Candice were seeing Don's grandkids, his daughter's kids. So the fact that they weren't supposed to have any access to children, well, they've not exactly abided by that. But anyway, DCS shall make this notification immediately upon receipt of this order. Assurance that this notification is properly and timely made is the responsibility of the Director of Due Process Procedures, Dana Scott. Copy of this notification must be forwarded to the DCS Administrative Procedures Division for inclusion with the hearing file. That's from the judge, order of dismissal. So technically, if Summer Wells is found alive today, she can go home. She can. But the boys, different story. Different story. There's the eldest boy who's looking for a home, looking for his forever home, currently in foster care. He's nearly a man. Let him decide. Not saying we expect him back. We expect him to come back. No. Ask him, does he want to come back? And if he doesn't, then just drop it. That's what being a parent's about. You do what's best for your children. And what's best in this situation, in a kid who's nearly 17, is to ask him what he wants. Ask him what he wants. All right, let's move over now to Leila Santanello. So I'm going to share my full screen again. Then we can zoom in on these. All right, so this is nearly 2 years. That's Jennifer. That's Leila's mother. And that's Leila's daughter, who now lives with Jennifer. Actually, when Leila disappeared, I don't know whether I don't think this story gets into it, but when Leila disappeared, Jennifer had custody of the little girl anyway, because Leila had some addiction issues. She wasn't in a good headspace, so Jennifer was looking after the little girl. So on a hot June day, nearly 2 years ago, Leila Santanello disappeared. The young mother was last seen walking barefoot in a grassy field near the Americourt Hotel in Kingsport, shortly after 6 a.m. on June 27th, 2023. Since then, her family have been chasing leads and any piece of information that may indicate Leila's whereabouts. But in the 2 years Leila has been gone, not much has changed. We never give up hope, Leila's mother, Jennifer Santanello, said in an interview this week. But there are more questions than there are answers. And this has been, it's been bad. It's been bad. So this is where Leila was last seen. Up here. So this is Kingsport. This is Kingsport. So you've got the river and warriors and that. And then this is where Leila was last seen. So she was living with her boyfriend. What's his name? Thompson. Michael Thompson, I think. The boyfriend has actually been done for extortion, but that's a completely different story. The boyfriend who was messaging Jennifer and other family members, saying, like, pretending to be a kidnapper, saying that he was going to chop Leila up into little pieces if they didn't give him money. That all turned out to be the boyfriend. So Leila and the boyfriend were having trouble. Leila had left the boyfriend's house. The boyfriend's house was searched. It was ransacked, as you know, in the words of Don Wells. It was searched. There was nothing there at the boyfriend's house. I don't think the boyfriend's implicated in Leila's disappearance, although I don't know. You know, somebody who's willing to extort a family with a missing person, who was your girlfriend, I've got no idea what mindset that guy was in. But anyway, Leila was staying at this hotel here called the Americourt Hotel. And they threatened to kick her out. She was in a really bad way. She was like knocking on doors, like room doors, and behaving really erratically. And she ended up leaving there in the early morning hours of the 27th of June. And she was seen, I think it was construction workers who saw her walking along this area here, which is like the green belt area, right here. And really, really erratic behavior. So I don't know whether she was on the influence of substances or whether she was on some kind of come down. I don't know. But behaving really erratically. But that was it. That was it. She disappeared. Now, there was a sighting, and some of you who followed the case in the early days, there was a sighting of her at the an ice cream shop. So quite close to here, an ice cream shop. And for months, they believed that the woman who worked at the ice cream shop had actually spoken to Leila. But finally, it was worked out that the woman that the ice cream lady saw, and she gave her some food and gave her something to eat, and she was barefooted and she was in a bad way. So it kind of made sense that it could be Leila. But they ended up working out that it wasn't Leila. And the girl it was, they actually found and spoke to that girl, and it wasn't Layla. So the last sighting isn't at the ice cream shop. The last sighting is here outside or nearby the Americourt Hotel in the early morning hours of June 27th, 2023. And there's been nothing, I mean, literally nothing since. Nothing. Lots of leads, lots of potential, but nothing. And I followed this case right from the beginning, and it's baffling, absolutely baffling. Okay, but there has been a new lead. Now, there has been many leads, many potential sightings and all sorts of things, but there is a new lead, which is strange. It's odd. It's baffling. It's a baffling case. I think Layla is no longer with us. If you want my opinion, I've always felt that there was foul play involved in Layla's case. And then when Hollynn went missing, it was like, oh my word, we've got another young lady missing. Like they're both like tiny, like 4'10", 4'11", really like small builds, or could be, you know, mistaken as children. I mean, legally adults, and Layla had her own daughter, but very vulnerable. And then when Hollynn went missing in October of the same year, I was like, there's got to be a connection. And the families even believed that there was a connection. Like Layla's family and Hollynn's family like got together because they're from the same city. And they believed initially there was a connection, but there isn't. And I think we know more about Hollynn. I think we know what happened to Hollynn, which I'll get into shortly. I think we do know what happened to Hollynn, and it's heartbreaking. But Layla, no idea. No idea. Anyway, the Kingsport Police Department said the investigation into 22-year-old's disappearance, so she's now 22. She was only 20 when she disappeared. Remains active, but could not comment further on the case. Still, there has been no confirmed sightings, no arrests, and no body in the search for Layla. Anyhow, earlier this month, Jennifer, Layla's mother, noticed something strange while logging into her own TurboTax account. What's Turbo? I assume that's like your tax account, I'm guessing. Like, we don't call it TurboTax here, but my sister does my taxes. So I'm very fortunate to have an accountant in the family. My sister does my taxes, so I don't have to worry about it. My sister does it all for me. So I'm very grateful. Candalee, member for 37 months. 37 months. Prayers for Aldi's missing children. I think you mean Aldi's, maybe? Aldi's, a supermarket. But thank you so much for being a member for all that time. So, whilst logging into her own TurboTax account, she saw that Layla's profile linked to hers, because she had once helped her daughter file taxes, had been accessed 2 weeks prior. So somebody has logged in to Layla's tax account. Now that is bizarre. So is it genuinely someone logging into her tax account? Is it the cops? Because sometimes, you know, if the cops are doing a bit of investigation, they'll log in to her social media account or something, and it looks like the person's active, and it's not, it's the cops. I had no idea. Like, when I read that, I was like, what? Like, because it's a strange thing to log into, like someone's tax account. Yeah, it means they have a social security number. Yeah. I took a screenshot really quick so I wouldn't lose it, she said. I sent it to the detective, the TBI agent on her case. It's not confirmed who accessed Layla's account or how. Layla's phone has been sitting in police evidence since 2023. During the time her boyfriend, Michael Thompson, so I was right on the name, was arrested for posing as Layla and sending her family fraudulent money requests. Jennifer noted that Layla could have logged into her TurboTax account on another device prior to her disappearance. Still, the recent login may have required additional confirmation steps. You'd think, like, if an account isn't accessed for a long time, you generally have to reconfirm things like passwords and stuff like that, don't you?
Every 7 days on tax accounts.
What?
It's every 7 days when you try to log into a tax account.
Is it really?
Yeah. Because I've been doing it recently.
Oh. Kyle just told me.
Well, it remembers you for 7 days.
Oh, Kyle just told me that in the UK, it remembers you for 7 days. That's all on a tax account. I don't know because my sister does all mine. But Kyle is getting a tax, like his last job, he's getting some kind of tax rebate or something. So if it's the same, and I would assume it's similar, like obviously this is UK, but I assume it's similar that, you know, you're going to have to reconfirm your passwords reasonably frequently. You know, if anybody's in Tennessee, can you confirm whether if you log into your tax account, you stay logged in for indefinitely, or whether you have to re-log in? I would imagine you have to re-log in. We've got some more. We got Angie Baby, member for 22 months. Nearly an OG, nearly, just 2 more months to go. And Canoni's Baloney, member for 14 months. Thank you so much, both of you. You don't stay logged in indefinitely. Like, you might, do you have to, like, does it even allow you to stay logged in? But anyway, does someone also have access to her email account? Maybe, Jennifer said. We don't know. So, given that Michael Thompson was masquerading as a kidnapper, is Michael Thompson in a position to have done something stupid like this? But why? Why would people be wanting to log into Layla's tax account? It's bizarre. 2 weeks after Layla was reported, does someone have access to her email account? Maybe, Jennifer said. We don't know. 2 weeks after Layla was reported missing, so this is what I've been talking about, Jennifer received a series of Cash App requests from Layla's account that demanded money and promised violence against the young mother. One message received by Jennifer warned she would find Layla chopped up into pieces. After Jennifer told police, investigators were able to access the account and determine that Thompson was the individual impersonating Layla, or impersonating a kidnapper, rather. In February 2024, a Sullivan County grand jury indicted Thompson for identity theft, theft under $1,000, illegal possession or fraudulent use of credit or debit cards, and extortion. The Kingsport Police Department previously stated there is no evidence to suggest Thompson played a role in Layla's disappearance. Jennifer believes the same. I don't think he's a suspect, she said. My mom's heart just says no. His house was raided. They did, you know, do stuff with Michael Thompson. I think he was a suspect, definitely in the early days. There are a few other hopeful leads that investigators are looking into, Jennifer said, although she couldn't name the specifics. But among the old and new leads, Jennifer said there is no evidence that corroborates any theories or ideas about what happened to Layla. I mean, that is just insane. After almost 2 years, we are literally no further forward with Layla's case than right at the beginning. We don't know whether she wandered off in a, you know, some kind of mental health crisis and got lost and then succumbed to what? Because it's the middle of summer and she's in a city. Did she come to, you know, I don't know, fall in the river or something? What happened? Or was she picked up by somebody? Did somebody offer her a lift? Did she call somebody or get in touch with somebody to give her a lift? Now, they've got Layla's phone. Like the police have Layla's phone, and I don't think Layla had a phone on her. Or there was something anyway about Layla's phone right early on, but she could have got in touch with somebody, and they gave her a lift, or I don't know. You think the police would know about that though? But did someone pick her up? Did someone she knew, like she trusted, see her, and she went off with them, and something bad happened? Did she take her own life? Did she just think, I've had enough, and she takes her own life? We don't know. We don't know. It's a baffling case. Absolutely baffling. Layla's daughter is 4 now. Good Lord. Lately, she has started to ask questions about her mother. Oh, it's heartbreaking and earth-shattering for us. I don't think it's earth-shattering for her just yet. She doesn't have a full understanding, but it's really hard to answer the question. As adults, we'll all end up in tears by the end of a good long Layla conversation. And she just doesn't fully understand why. Oh, heartbreaking. It really is. In the absence of answers, Jennifer has begun building a small memorial garden in Layla's honour, a quiet place soon to be filled with roses, Layla's favourite flower, and a swing for her family. I wanted there to be somewhere we can go and where her daughter can go and just feel close to her. When she lived in the trailer, she had roses everywhere, absolutely all different colours, just beautiful, bright roses. If she has passed away, we don't have a cemetery. We don't have an urn. We don't have anything. And if she's out there in the world somewhere, she's not contacting us. That doesn't mean we don't miss her. Jennifer said a vigil will take place 8:30 p.m. Friday, June 27th at Borden Park. That marks 2 years since Layla was last seen. So if you're in the area, Borden Park, 8:30 p.m., June 27th. An unrelenting search. Kingsport Police Department has conducted dozens of interviews, executed more than 30 search warrants, and launched multiple search operations using drones, cadaver dogs, and thermal imaging technology in the search for Layla. 4 months after Layla's disappearance, 19-year-old Holland Snapp also went missing. And I was like, you're kidding me. You're kidding me. There's a serial killer in Kingsport. But no. They're different. She was last seen on October 15th on Belridge Drive in Kingsport. The Kingsport PD has previously stated there is no evidence to suggest the two cases are related. Still, Jennifer said she hasn't ruled out the possible connection between the two cases. Really? Okay. I thought the families had decided that there wasn't. I think the casualties are different, Jennifer said, but I have a feeling that when it's all finally uncovered, we will find that there was a connection. Okay. Now, the thing at the beginning, the family said that Layla and Hollynn moved in the same social circles, like they didn't know each other as far as we know, because Hollynn wasn't from Kingsport. Hollynn wasn't originally from Kingsport. Hollynn was from, God, the name, I forget, but she was staying in Kingsport. There was she had mental health problems. Hollynn herself had addiction problems, and she'd had mental health treatment in Kingsport, and she was staying in Kingsport when she was last seen. But she's not originally from Kingsport, so there's no evidence that Hollynn and Layla actually knew each other. But it's very possible that they could have walked in the same social circles, which is pretty terrifying. That's pretty scary. There's a handful of people in this town keeping a very dark secret, Jennifer said. And there absolutely is. And we do know a little bit more about those keeping secrets in Hollynn's case. So hold that thought. Those people know exactly what happened to both of these young ladies, and they are holding it in. I often wonder if they consider the gravity of what it is that they're doing. So it could turn out that there's a connection. It could go full circle. And it could turn out that there is actually a connection between Because they're similar age, they got similar kind of problems, like, you know, problems with addiction, problems with mental health. Same age, Hollynn's 19, Layla was 20 when she disappeared, 22 now. Like 4'10", 4'11", like really small, petite young women. Wow. Loved ones and supporters of Layla and other missing people have become advocates for vulnerable young people. June 26, a community initiative bearing Layla's name will host its first public event. Hope in Action, organised by Layla's Hope, will take place at the Kingsport Farmers Market from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. that Thursday, offering resources, education and solidarity for youth facing homelessness, exploitation or abuse. See, there's good coming out of this really horrific situation for Layla's family. There is good coming out. The programme, launched through the Mental Health Transformation Alliance, was created in honour of Layla and those young people that can often be overlooked. Anyone with information about Layla's whereabouts can contact the Kingsport PD Criminal Investigations Division at 423-229-9429 or Kingsport Central Dispatch at 423-246-9111. That's crazy. It's crazy that we could go full circle on this. But there absolutely is, in Hollynn's case, people who know exactly what happened and who are not talking. Like I said, we do know more in Hollynn's case. So let's go there right now. So Hollynn was last seen on Belridge Drive, which is kind of like out in the outskirts of Kingsport. So you got Kingsport and then it's like technically Kingsport. It's almost on the Virginia border. Right, there's the state line there. So Belridge Drive is here. So rural area. Plenty of places where you could go and hide a body. All right. Let's turn to Hollynn's story. All right. She deserved help. Family seeks answers in Holland Snapp's disappearance. So this is Hollynn. All right. So again, Kingsport. Holland Snapp was 19 years old when she disappeared from a home in Kingsport in October of 2023. So it wasn't her home. She was staying with someone who beat her. She has been messaging her family regularly. She had been messaging her family regularly until the day before she vanished. Her final text to her adoptive mother included the name Stephen Linkus. Stephen Linkus. This is the man who beat her until she was unconscious. And people witnessed it. People know about it. What happened after that, though, no one is saying. Stephen Linkus is the name, who is most probably responsible for the disappearance of Holland Snapp. So she texted her adoptive mother. Now, Hollynn had been in the system. She'd been fostered from an early age, and then she was finally adopted. So she's kind of like got two families, if you will, because she's got her foster mother that she stayed with for quite a while has been involved in the search, and then her adoptive mother has also been involved in the search for Hollynn. So they've kind of been working together. Okay, so she texted the name Stephen Linkous and the address of his home where she was last known to be. That's the last time anyone heard from Hollynn. More than 600 days later, there has been no new developments in the search for Hollynn and no trace of the young woman. We would have come and gotten her, said Leslie Hunt, Hollynn's former foster mother. If she was aggravating someone, if she owed someone money, whatever it was, we would have fixed it. She deserved to be helped. According to Hunt, multiple eyewitnesses reported that Hollynn was beaten and incoherent at the Belvedere. I thought it's Belridge Drive, not Belvedere Drive. It's Belridge Drive, where she was last seen. And no one stepped in to help. Why? Was everyone like really scared of Stephen Linkous or something? Like, who all was there? Why are they not talking? Because what happened after Hollynn was beaten to the point of incoherence. Why she was beaten to the point of incoherence, we don't know. Because people aren't talking. Good Lord. Good Lord. Where's my other page gone? Here we go. These are really good write-ups, like the Times News has done well here. Stephen Linkous has been in and out of jail since then, she said. So this is Miss Hunt talking. But not for anything related to Hollynn. Law enforcement has reportedly conducted search warrants. It's Belridge Drive, not Belvedere Drive. Why are they saying Belvedere Drive? I'm doubting myself now, but it's Belridge Drive, I'm sure. Anyhow, but what, if anything, they found remains unclear. Because it's an ongoing investigation, they can't tell us much, Hunt said. But you can assume that if they had anything concrete had come out of the searches, we would be close to closure by now. Linkous is currently on probation, but according to Hollynn's family, he has refused to speak with their private investigator, Steve Fisher. So this is SF Investigates. Now, SF Investigates has been dropping a few clips. He's not done anything recently that I know about, but dropping a few clips of phone conversations with Linkous, which you hear the guy's voice and you think, disgusting person. Who has been working with local authorities and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. He's really bridged the gap between us and law enforcement, Leslie said. He's the one people are willing to talk to when they're too afraid to go to the police. Hollynn stood just under 5 feet tall and weighed around 80 pounds. Her IQ, Hunt said, placed her at the level of a 10 or 11-year-old. So legally an adult, but mentally and physically was like a child, tiny, 80 pounds with a mental age of a 10 or 11-year-old. And whatever she was doing at Stephen Linkous's, who was an older man, it's not a young kid, it's an older man. What she was doing there, don't know. No idea. But I don't think she left there alive. If you want my honest opinion, I don't think she left there alive. I think she died. And I think people know. And I think her body has been taken somewhere and disposed of. That's what I think. So I do think we have a good idea of what happened to Hollynn, but where her remains are, I think people know. I think people do know, and they're just not talking. You could put in an anonymous tip, couldn't you? If you felt that, you didn't want to speak to the police, you could put in an anonymous tip to Crime Stoppers or to somewhere, the private investigator. You could contact somebody just to say where Hollynn's remains are so she could go home to her family. You could do that. At the very least, you could do that. at the very least. It doesn't help with the justice of this thing, but at the very least, you could return Hollynn to her family. Linkus did make a car trip. He absolutely did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. She didn't understand that people could have bad intentions. She just wanted to be around people, to connect, to feel seen. That's how she ended up at that house. Hollynn had stayed in close contact with both her foster and adoptive families before her disappearance. Hunt said she had received messages from Hollynn 1 or 2 times a week, but her adoptive mother, Heather, heard from her every day until October 4th, 2023. Everything just stopped, Hunt said. In the months since Hollynn vanished, her family have organised vigils and posted relentlessly on social media. A Facebook group dedicated to the search for Hollynn has just over 1,300 followers. Still, Hunt said she often feels like she's shouting into a void. I'll get 1,300 people to see a post, but maybe 10 will share it. In conversations with Kingsport residents, she said she's often met with blank stares. They'll say, I'm from Kingsport and I've never heard of her. It's like, what do I do? This is why raising awareness is so important. You kind of think, oh, well, everybody in the area must know about this case. But no, people don't. People have their own lives, their own busy lives. They're not following true crime on social media. They're not looking at missing persons flyers and stuff on a basis like we are. So share as many times as you can. Share flyers on your own social media, share videos, share whatever you can to make that person as visible as possible to as many people as possible. You know, so if you're anywhere in the local vicinity, start putting up flyers for these young women. Though Hollynn's disappearance has sometimes been discussed alongside that of Leila Santanello, another young woman who was vanished from Kingsport area months earlier, Hunt doesn't believe the two cases are connected. Okay. I used to think there might be, she said, but now I believe they're two entirely different tragedies. So that's interesting that Miss Hunt is saying that there's no connection, but Jennifer Santanello is saying, well, there could be when all things said and done. We don't know. Don't know how things are going to shake in the, because we know so little about Layla's disappearance. We don't know anything. After she left the Americourt Hotel, we don't know anything. What direction she went in? Nothing. Whereas with Hollynn, there's an address. We know where she absolutely was the last time she was heard from. And we know that people know she was there and that she was beaten up there at that address. So there's a lot more known about Hollynn. It just happened to be the same place. Two girls who deserve better. The Sullivan County Sheriff's Office released the following statement to Times News regarding the search for Hollynn. Oh, so they actually made a statement. Stephen Linkus, don't dox me, is the guy who beat Hollynn to the point of incoherence. He beat her so badly, she was incoherent. People knew, people didn't step in, and people aren't talking. And Stephen Linkus is some like criminal person currently on probation and much older man than Hollynn. What Hollynn was doing with him, I have no idea. What attention, maybe he was giving her attention or supplying her drug. I don't know what she saw in this guy, but she ended up there. She got beaten, senseless, and Stephen Linkus is most probably the person responsible for Holland Snapp's disappearance. Okay, so this is from Kingsport PD. We have investigators that are still working on the case involving Holland Snapp. The detectives have conducted numerous interviews and are still interviewing additional individuals as more information comes to them. They continue to seek out anyone else who has information about Hollynn. There is someone that has information about Hollynn. There is. Probably numerous people. And we urge them to contact us. Tips can be submitted to our Facebook page or by calling 423-279-7506. Hollynn said she believes several people know what happened to Hollynn and won't come forward. Most of them have kids, even grandkids, she said, because Hollynn was staying with these older people. If they could just put themselves in our shoes, maybe they'd speak up. Ultimately, I believe God already knows the ending to this. Just because we don't know it yet doesn't mean we won't. Your sins will find you out. They absolutely will. They absolutely will. That's true. Never a truer word spoken. The Sullivan County Sheriff's Office shared a list of 4 other missing persons they are handling. So there's more people missing in Sullivan County. Now, remember, Summer disappeared from Hawkins County, but Ben Hill Road is almost on the Sullivan County border. So, you know, another mile east and Summer would be a Sullivan County case. But there's more people missing in Sullivan County. Carson Castile reported missing August 1980. Linda Sanders, February 2008. Travis Cruisenbury, 2015. And Ralph Nelson, December 2021. Okay. Anyone with information about Hollynn's whereabouts or the above missing persons could contact the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office at 423-279-7330. Sounds like a reward would help in this case. Maybe it would. Maybe it would. But yeah, Leila Santanello and Holland Snapp both disappeared within a few miles of each other, within a few months of each other from Kingsport. There's Hollynn. And then Layla. Where's my pen gone? Where's my pen gone? There. Layla down here. So geographically, you know, the outskirts of the same town. You know what? It would not surprise me. It would not surprise me if it turns out that there is a link between them in some way, shape, or form. That there is some kind of connection between them. But with us having absolutely zero clue about what direction Layla went in, nothing, it's impossible to know. I've always felt that there's some kind of foul play involved. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It could be that she, you know, I don't know, had some kind of accident somewhere, you know, walked. I mean, how close is she to the river? Not dead close to the river, but close enough. Is that a river? What's that? I'm not sure that is actually a river. I think it's just like some kind of ditch. But the cops searched all this. This has been gone over with a fine-tooth comb like this. I think it's called the Green Belt. They did search all this. But we don't know what direction she went in. Nothing. So it is possible with Layla that there's no crime, that something else happened. But with Hollynn, we absolutely know a crime was involved. 2 blocks to a creek. Is that a creek there? Is that it? Is that the creek? The river's down here. This river's down here. So that's a fair walk. It's not like she could just tip into the river, you know. But this creek, it's impossible to tell it whether it's deep or anything. But all this has been searched. Oh, it's kind of like, oh, it's a big hill. Do you realise? That's a creek there, isn't it? Oh no, that's a trail of some kind. Kingsport Greenbelt. So that's the trail. So this is the field. So she was seen in a field outside the Merricourt. So these are the fields. But what direction did she go in? What direction did she walk in? We don't even know that. We have no further information than we had right at the beginning of this case. Seriously. So, look, it wouldn't surprise me if it does turn out that there's some kind of connection somewhere along the line. Wouldn't surprise me at all, but it doesn't mean to say that there is at all either. But I think Hollynn's case, will be solved. I'm confident that Hollynn's case will be solved, because all it requires is the people who know what happened to come forward and stop being so selfish. And at the very least, you can make an anonymous call to somewhere and say where Hollynn's body is, so she can go home to her family. At the very least, that's what you can do. But Layla, no idea. Layla's case is just absolutely baffling. How can you disappear from here? Right, outside a hotel. How can you disappear from here? Like, where can you go that you're not ever seen? Right, she walked this way. She'd have been seen. She walked this way. The chances are she would have been seen. And I don't think she's tried to climb this hill and then fallen and died, because I think she would have been fine by now. I don't know. Baffling. What's the terrain like there in Kingsport? It's a town. So, like this green belt, it's kind of rough, but it's not bad terrain. You got to climb this hill to get to the actual town, but there's ways through. So, there's trails. So you just walk up there, and you're in houses. So it's not bad terrain. Like if you're in the town itself. Like the outskirts, obviously it's rural and it's somewhat rugged, but in the town it's fine. It's like tons of houses and shops and businesses and stuff. But again, we've no idea what direction she went in. There's nothing in Layla's case. Nothing. So, anyhow, so there's 3 cases. Summer Wells, Leila Santanello, and Holland Snapp. All missing out of East Tennessee. Not the only people missing out of East Tennessee, but 3 cases where we desperately, desperately need resolution. Desperately need answers on these cases. And if you know something, if you saw something, you heard something, please, please say something. Say something. Is Thompson still in jail? I'm not sure whether Thompson is still in jail. I'm not sure. I could look him up. Hold on. Let me get rid of these. Michael Thompson's a pretty... let's have a look here. Search. Michael Thompson. All right, let me share this. This is Sullivan County case files. There's loads of Michael Thompsons. This is a problem. Twenty 2023. It's going to be that one. A lot of these are old. Could be that one. Corbin Michael Thompson. There's loads of cases though. I don't know which one he is. Oh, it's not him. Don't know is the answer. Any other details to narrow it down? I just know him as Michael Thompson. I don't know him as... I don't know that he's got a middle name. We've got 84 entries. I'm not going to go through them all. But it's going to be after 2023. So we filter it for 2023. Let us do that. Yes, it will. That one's drug paraphernalia. Drugs. These are all drugs. At 2024. Intimidation. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. Yeah, if you find one chart, yeah. But the ones that I'm clicking on are like we know what the charges are. Oh, here we go. We got him. Here we go. Michael David Thompson. Identity theft, theft up to $1,000, fraudulent use of a credit card, identity theft and theft. All right, guilty. He's pled guilty. I assume he's still in prison. Oh no. He's not been sentenced yet. Continuance. Expert hearings, pled guilty. That's April 25th. So was he sentenced then? If he's been sentenced, then Hold on. We're going to look him up. Michael Thompson. Leila Can't find any recent media about him either. If he's been sentenced, I think he'll be inside. But I don't know. Does anybody know? So he's in jail waiting to be sentenced. Don't know, is the answer. Like, he's pled guilty. So he's either going to be out on bond, awaiting sentencing, or he's going to be in jail. If he's already been sentenced, I imagine that he's in jail. It's Judge Goodwin. Do you remember Judge Goodwin? Those who watched the Megan Boswell trial. Judge Goodwin doesn't mess about. Does not mess about. Does not mess about. So there's a whole bunch of continuances, rescheduling, and then so 425-25 he's pled guilty. So his fees. Lisa, member for 31 months. We'll be on the replay crew as usual. All right, guys, I'm going to go. So I don't know the answer. I assume he is. If he's been sentenced, he's going to be in jail, yeah. Yeah, Summers is still an active case. She's still got an active Amber Alert. I'll show you. TBA. There's her Amber Alert. They've not updated this since 2023. But yes, the Amber Alert is still active. They've not added to this site for ages. It's all the same. Search pictures and everything. But she's still an active Amber Alert. She's never been on the FBI website. Summer Wells has never been on the FBI website. She never has been. So I've seen people saying, why is Summer Wells no longer on the FBI website? She never has been on the FBI website. I don't know why, but she never has been. So it's not that she's been taken off. She's never been put on. I do not know why. But her Amber Alert is still active. All right, guys, I'm just waffling now. I am going to go. And thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me. So we've got Krista, who donated $49.99 earlier on in the, well, even before the stream started. And we've got Kimberly, who gifted 5 memberships. And then we've got long-term members. We got Only Grounds, 40 months. We got 37 months for Candalee. We got 22 months for Angie Baby. We got 14 months for Canoni's Baloney. And we got 31 months for Lisa. So there you go. So thank you all. And thanks as always to the mods. I shall see you very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, guys.